Okay, continuing from the previous lesson on condition statements, I will show you a different way to do a condition, which is known as a switch. The switch is written quite differently and it has the same functionality, but it specializes in other things such as being able to select a choice when you're giving options. Such as, first off, I'm going to create a choice for the user to type in something, and I'm going to give them a command. Cout, please enter a number, and then I'm going to save that number inside of the variable choice. I am going to do a switch, and it's going to look at our choice. I misspelled switch. Okay, so switch is a reserved word. Switch choice. Now, based on the choice that I entered, which is a number that I entered, it will do something. In case I press 1, so I'm going to start off with case 1, I'm going to cout. You entered a 1. Next, I'm going to do the next case. Sorry. Case 2. And let's just do one more. Case 3. I'll end it at that. There is more code that needs to be done for it to work correctly. So let's see what it's doing so far. Right now it did not give us any errors. It compiled, so we're assuming that the output will be correct. Let's input the number 3. You entered a 3. Based on this, I'm assuming it's working correctly. But let's go ahead and input the number 2. You entered a 2, you entered a 3. Well, that's not the output that I wanted. What if I press 1? 1. You entered a 1, you entered a 2, you entered a 3. So basically, it will find 1, it'll output, and then it just keeps on going. If you want it to stop there, you would have to add a new term called a break. The break will get you out of that specific location. Now when I input the number 1, you entered a 1, and that's it. That's the only command that it does. If you purposely wanted it to output something like this, you can do it to where if they enter a 1 or a 2, they both lead up to the same cout statement, and then it'll break. So whether I press 1 or 2, it will say you entered a 1 or a 2. You can do that if you'd like, but most people would use each case for a purpose, such as press 1 to do the following, press 2 to do the other thing, and so forth. A good place where you would find an example of this in real world terms is whenever you're calling a certain location and it says press 1 to go to a certain location, press 2 to go to a different, or press 1 for English, press 2 for Spanish, and so forth. So those type of conditions that they are imposing on you is where you would use a switch. So cout you and let me change this back to a 2. Alright, so what if they enter a 4? 4. If they enter a 4, it's not going to go through any. Well, what if I wanted to do something like our else statement, to where if it's not true, it'll do the else? Well, we still have something like that, and that is known as a default. The default also needs a break. For a default, I will say something like, you did not enter a 1, 2, or 3. So if they enter an absurd number, you did not enter a 1, 2, or 3. So that's our default. Anything else that is not a 1, 2, or 3 will go to that. Even smaller numbers like 0. Okay. This switch will only work with numbers. Fortunately for us, characters are also represented through the use of numbers. So if I have, instead of an int, I have a char, a character, please enter a letter. I see in the letter, I switch based on the letter. Now I want this to be based on the specific letter that they input. You entered, sure, A, you entered B, you entered C, you did not enter A, B, or C. Okay. So I'm going to enter the letter A, you entered A. So it's working the same way as our integers. There's other little things you can work with on here, such as if you still left it with an int choice. Unfortunately, if I were to run it and I enter a letter of A, you did not enter A, B, or C. Okay? And the reason why is because we're trying to input it to an integer. Let's find out what A represents as an integer. Int choice equals A cout choice. So before I run the rest of the program, I want to know what ASCII value is inside A. So it's getting the letter A and it's converting it into an integer. 97 is a representation for A. Okay, 97. Let's switch this back to a char. Would it be possible to enter the number 97 and get the A? In this case, unfortunately, no. The reason why is because we have a character, what we're looking for. So it is trying to accept straight A here. Remember, all characters are a single digit. 97 is 2 digits. If I had tried to place char as an int and type in 97, will it give us our A? You entered A. Okay, so do be aware that this data type will tell you whether it's going into the character representation or a regular number. So A as a character is represented by the number 97. The odds of you actually writing your program to where you need this type of knowledge is quite low. The most popular uses for cases are for the basic numbers. Okay. In one of our assignments, we will see how switches compared to if statements would be a lot easier to distinguish each and every single case. So the if statement has its own condition, and the bigger the case that you want, the more code separating each if statement, which makes it a little bit harder to read. So using a switch makes everything a lot easier to read compared to if statements. That concludes this lesson.